Hello, I am back and excited because we are finishing this section of certain questions and their answers of the book, Esoteric Psychology. Took a little peek by Alice A. Bailey. And this section is really briefly going over the final of our 7 rays. 7th ray. It is the ray of ceremonial order or magic. And this is what Alice Bailey says on that. Again, forgive the crazy brightness of the screen. I'm not sure how to make it worse. I know how to make it worse. Okay, there we go. All right, let me just read this really quickly and then get into, again, the tarot correspondence as we've been doing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're doing well or endeavoring to become so. Happy Friday. Continuing on. The 7th ray of ceremonial order or magic embodies a curious quality, which is the outstanding characteristic of the particular life, with a capital L, which ensouls this ray. It is the quality or principle which is the coordinating factor unifying the inner quality and the outer tangible form or appearance. Again, the triplicity that makes up the, what is it called? I'm having a blank. The Trinity. And the Trinity, and then the first three rays, the rays of aspect, which everything else, everything in existence embodies or comes from these 3 primary energies, or rays, or color types, or vibrations around the universe that make up all things. So life, quality, and appearance. That's what makes up all that is. So the life is the spirit, the essence of the divine. The quality is like that Jesus factor. It's the sun, the aspect that comes, it's bursts out of it. It's the unique color that kind of attributes it and makes it what it is. And the appearance is the mother aspect that receives the divine spark, that life force energy, and then it takes that creative quality, that coloring that's innate, dormant in there, and then it manifests it all together to be birthed forth into physical form or appearance. And you have to have the understanding of all 3 and how they play their unique part in order to do the magical work, as it's called. And so this ray, the 7th ray, which is the ray of organizing and putting actual practicality to understanding that whole process and how it works, so that it can be duplicated and create the intended results, is what this ray is all about. So again, it is the quality or principle which is the coordinating factor unifying the inner quality and the outer tangible form or appearance. This work goes on primarily on etheric levels and involves physical energy. This is the true magical work. I should like to point out that when the 4th ray and the 7th ray come into incarnation together, we shall have a most peculiar period of revelation and of light bringing. And at the end of this, I'm going to put together 2 little clips from the original clip that I used when I went into the introduction to this, from the 7-Ray Wisdom Bites, kind of in respect and honor to the gentleman who's poured so much time and love and energy and light into teaching and breaking down Alice Bailey's materials and a lot of the theosophical stuff on the Lucis Trust Publishing website, and he passed on recently, I believe on the 18th of February. And so I'm just going to put a little quick of that to help us, because they give some really good information explaining the rays, and just a real quick overview of the 7th ray and the 4th ray, and why this says that it's going to be such a magical time when those 2 are in incarnation together, because again, these people phase in and out of life on these rays and cycles, because they last generations and such. And that's why it one of those earlier definitions on what is the soul and how this all works is it shows that different rays of society of how we were, what ray we were on, it is reflected in how we are evolving as a species. And right now, again, we're moving out of the 6th ray of devotion and all that stuff into learning how to actually put all this together into a system that works. So anyways, I'm going to cut that in at the end and then have a little bit of a clip from him too, as he expresses all of this in a cool way as well.
I think everybody who has studied human nature realizes that beneath all the diversity of outer behavior, there seem to be some fundamental orientations in the human being. Even the modern psychologist, not knowing anything about this esoteric doctrine, gives kids interest tests and divides the results into 7 different types of psychological orientation. You know, it could be commercial, it could be social, it could be mechanical, organizational. There's these different types of divisions that the perceptive psychologist has noticed. And our outer form might have 7 different types of personality. You know, you can have leaders, lovers, business people, thinkers, artists, scientists, devotees, organizers. I just took a quick run through what we call the 7 rays, or the 7 psychological types. But those energies come from the very top of cosmos. They come from the first 7 fundamental integer gods, if I could call them that. We oftentimes say those energies come from the Great Bear, and they do, and that's much more local. You know, we're right inside our galaxy, right inside our local cosmic system, and it's a fascinating subject because, you know, with astrology, you look in the sky and you say, well, this is here, that's there, and you see where everything is. With the rays, the energies, 7 energies, you have to be very discerning. You have to kind of look through the person and just see their general behavior patterns and then add the astrological chart to that. And if you know the soul energy and you know the personal energy, you can go into that astrological chart and make a lot more sense out of it. That's going to be the new astrology, the new rheology, the new psychology.
When the 4th ray and 7th ray come into incarnation together, we shall have a most peculiar period of revelation and light bringing. It is said of this time, and then it gets into some real esoteric stuff here. For those that know how to understand this or decode this, you know what's being said here. It's really beautiful. It is said of this time that then, in quotes, the temple of the Lord will take on an added glory. The temple, we are the body temple. The temple of the Lord will take on an added glory, and the builders will rejoice together. This will be the high moment of the Masonic work, meaning the organized, degrees of practically applying wisdom and teachings for the purpose of bringing forth the plan. Spiritually understood. The lost word will then be recovered and uttered for all to hear, and the master will arise and walk among his builders in the full light of the glory which shines from the east. The spiritualizing of forms might be regarded as the main work. Sorry about that. Let me pause this real quick and be right back. All right, sorry about that. So rude. Had to take that. But anyways, yes. His builders in the full light of glory which shine from the east. I'm going to have to probably edit this because I think I already read that. Whatever, just leave it. This is the ending part. The spiritualizing of forms might be regarded as the main work of the 7th ray. The spiritualizing of forms. So again, forms, you can think of it as just like robots, where everybody's having so much fun trying to dabble with the creation of AI and robots and stuff like that, and how the Elon Musks of the world think that's so cool. But all it is, if we look at it from 7th ray, it is nothing that has not been done before. It's the counterfeit of consciousness into another substance to create a servile class. And when you get deep into the esoterics, when you look deep into the Bible, when you look deep into our creators and all that stuff, you understand that that's what was done with us. And we essentially became pulled further and further and further from our essence, where we were less aware, less conscious of the spark of the light within us. And why are we made to serve? Why are we made to suffer? Why are we made to live this way when there is such a beautiful essence within us? The temple of the Lord will take on an added glory, and the builders will rejoice together because of the high moment in the Masonic work, spiritually understood. The lost word will then be recovered and uttered for all to hear, and the master will arise and walk among his builders in the full light of the glory which shines from the east, the light that is within us. And so this idea of just creating this automaton, this fake, this counterfeit version of reality, this metaverse where what's real and tangible doesn't matter, and only what's fictitious and fantasy and phenomena, razzle dazzle, is what's important, that's not going to fulfill us because it is not real. It does not give that life force. It does not sustain. It does not have the Trinity. It is void of the spiritual essence. And that's what happens when we create and we're not using. I was just reading The Secret Doctrine, a piece of Helen Blavatsky's book, the second one, and she talks about this, this concept of where creation was dabbled, when we dabbled in creations, and that's where we created these morphed characters that look like monsters that we see in history and the myths, or in the past, in the hieroglyphs, when you see these half man, half beast, or half animal and half this, it's like those are dabbling in creationism, trying to create things without the life source of the divine, not doing it in the natural way, right? But seventh ray teaches us why there is order, why there is divine law, why is there a certain recipe to the magical work, and why is it being perverted, and how is it working? How is it seeming that it's working even though it's being perverted? We'll see that it's actually closing in upon itself. What happens when we do this? It's all been done before. There is nothing new under the sun, right? This ray teaches us how to spiritualize forms, to understand why a robot isn't a human, right? Why we aren't those who came before us, but why we are learning to come back to our essence, to connect to our source so that we can understand who we are, why we are here, our true past, and our true destiny, where we can go. Sorry, my hair's looking crazy, so I'm covering it. Anyways, this ray is responsible for the spiritualizing of forms, putting the soul in the driver's seat of the body, letting us understand why we do things the way we do them, and why we wouldn't choose, the left-hand path over the right-hand path. Why? Tell me, make it make sense, because that looks like really appetizing. It looks really cool the way they sign these deals and these contracts, and they get tons of money and they spew all this, information. It seems like they're getting rich, or, they do a couple rituals in the back, and then it seems like all this stuff is good, but it is not. It's not so. It is a glamour, as they call it also in the esoteric. It's a glamour, and we'll see why again when we discuss the tarot card correspondences. But just to finish this up, and then I'm going to throw up that chart that we use a lot here too to finish this up. This ray is the principle of fusion, of coordination, and of blending, which is active on etheric levels every time a soul comes into incarnation and a child is born on earth. Again, just as a whole, the spiritualizing of forms might be regarded as the main work of the seventh ray, and it is the principle of fusion, of coordination, and of blending, which is active on the etheric levels every time a soul comes into incarnation and a child is born on earth. Again, because that's that blending. That's the actual physical representation and example of the Trinity, that triplicity, this and this combining to birth a new life, the Father, the Mother, and the Son. Okay, that energy, that being, that form, animated by a spirit, life, and given a particular quality or appearance based on their birth chart, based on all these things and the rays that they're on. It's all cool stuff. So let's go over to make the chart bigger. How do I do? I always ask that. Okay. Looks okay. So again, right here, I like to just go over the ray. Go to the top real quick. The ray we're looking at again, first we have the rays of aspect, then the rays of attribute. We look at the description and master, the negative qualities, and the qualities to develop is the main thing that I love to look at here of this chart. So going back down here, seventh ray, the ray of ceremony, cyclic activity, or materializing power, also known as the ray of ceremonial order or magic, as we'll see in the Wisdom Bites video clips. So this ray is, a description is, this is when cyclic activity brings form into manifestation. ritualized ordering of life, grounding of the will, physical strength, perseverance to divine purpose, courage, endurance, proper care to detail, self-reliance, the practical creative builder in all fields of life, the organizer, and magical endeavor. Here we show Master R as the master of this ray. This is Francis Bacon, now the Maha Koan. The Maha Koan, I had to look that up. That's considered like the master of masters in esoteric philosophy, the master that delivers the wisdom, who embodies the teachings, who gives forth the instructions and the guidance for the work, things like that. So Master R, and then Francis Bacon there is a real world figure representation. I'm feeling kind of silly today. It's Friday. Francis Bacon is known as the father of the scientific method. It's interesting because the scientific method is now used today to discredit metaphysics and the act of spirituality and psychicism and all that stuff, because it's seen as something that cannot be proven by metaphysics. If you see in that original video where I talked about how that's false, because this all can be measured, it can be duplicated, it can be tested, it can be observed, it can be all those things, but people just have not done so. But people are doing it now. It's like the work of Joe Dispenza, which I love, and the Heart Math Institute, where they're plugging up things to the brains and watching people reach certain breakthroughs at certain levels in meditation after specific exposures and things like that. It's measured and duplicated, and it's right there, but we still are considered a pseudoscience. But in any case, Francis Bacon was an example on this. I haven't seen it in any of the much of the other stuff from like Alice Bailey or the Theosophical Society, but here it is interesting, listed as one of the masters. But the Maha Koan, again, is considered like one of the teachers of teachers, one of the masters embodying the wisdom. Moving on to the negative traits that we would want to kind of cast out or overcome. Negative qualities and then those to develop for the seventh ray. Being the occultist. So that just being that, and that is of itself. We don't do the work just for the sake of the label, just as with the sixth ray. You're not the priest just for the perks. You're not the occultist just so that you can get the title and the fact of trying to intimidate people or think that you're going to do some sort of woo stuff on them. It's negative trait qualities as willful self-opinion, thinking themselves better than others, bigotry, prideful purpose, all these things, the same kind of connotation. Wrongly faceted mind, again, a mind towards, I'm a teacher now because I studied for 5 minutes, and let me go out and try to act like I know this stuff inside and out, when it's just not true. People have dedicated so much time. Like, I have been studying this silently for so many years, and I still don't consider myself at that level to go out and tell people, hey, this is period, point blank. I'm still a student, and I think that's the mindset that all real initiates and people that are on the path really always consider themselves as a student, always willing to take in understanding from another who has walked the path and has put a lot of information before them. You don't just take a quick course and then call yourself someone that's really anointed or initiated into the work. It's almost like a sign of disrespect. So that's why seventh ray, again, it gives a humbling to those who want that shortcut that the left hand path kind of gives you, or glamorously tries to pretend that it gives you, but it's actually the long way around, right? Because then you have to undo all of the tainting that you've done. You have to try and recapture your soul fragments. You have to kind of try to cut the cords with those who are, like it's going to get down here in the very end, superficial judgments, obsession with the body form, and sex magic. So that hand path that's really heavy into saying, oh, I've seen how ceremony and ritual using sex magic and doing all these things can get me this outcome. But they don't understand that with each thing, or, the porn addiction and all that stuff, it's all glamorous, right? But the glamour is that there's a spirit that's attached to that, just like a spirit's attached to the alcohol. When you're not aware of these things, you're taking on that spirit. You're taking on that attachment. You're tying that cord. And that cord is then, this is work that's done on the etheric level. So now you've got a drain. basically, you could say, in your body aura, in the essence of who you are. On top of you already being confused by society, on top of you already being unaware of more about your true self knowledge, because we don't learn that in schools, we don't learn that even in our homes. On top of all that, now you've got unseen forces sucking your life force because you've made an unwitting or witting contract allowing it to do so. So now we're walking like puppets, right, in our own lives. We don't really have control of ourselves. So that's, again, why seventh ray, with the qualities we want to actually develop in order to put the spirit in the driver's seat, spiritualize the form, give our unique quality, not the qualities of all these other people who've got attachments up the wazoo because they've surrendered their soul. Take it back. You can do it. It's possible, but that's another topic. The qualities to develop are high esoteric idealism, realization of unity, broad-mindedness, tolerance, humility, and white magic. And let me see if I can do it. I'll do it right now. And then I'll cut in the videos after. I don't know if you'll be seeing them before or after the tarot correspondence cards, but I do want to drive that point home because it was really helpful for me when I watched the Wisdom Bites videos. So the tarot cards that I associate with seventh ray obviously are going to be the Magician. The main one is the Magician. Here's two examples from the field and the Cosmic Tarot, as I usually do, so that you can get an example of a more simple, clean, and dry depiction of a tarot card. These, again, are just flashcards for the occult, and you might be tired of me saying that, but it's important because you would be surprised how many people are afraid of what they don't understand. And these are just flashcards for understanding the journey of the self. Again, we need to understand ourselves in order to put our soul back in the driver's seat. There's people that are still going to have a conversation about, do I believe in a soul? I'm not talking to you, basically. Because if you still have a question about the soul or your God self, then it's just going to take you longer to get here. You could take that a long way, or you could take the shortcut using the wisdom and the teaching of the things that come before us. Again, this isn't a pseudoscience. Francis Bacon, this can be proven by the scientific method. This has been written down and documented by many who have come before us in the teachings. They used to burn our books, right? That's why we have to do these readings and stuff, so that we can try to memorialize and keep these things going, so that the generations that are just using their phones can see this at a later time and realize, there's actually directions and guidelines that were actually written down for me that were meant to help me and guide me, because they burned the books. They're trying to get rid of the teachings. They're trying to get rid of money even. There's stories in the written word and what's written down. I've been wanting to do this for a while because it's like trying to get rid of cash. What happens when we get rid of cash? We go to a cashless society. We forget these things. We forget that this, where is it, is on the back of our $1 bill. We forget things like that. Symbols have power. What do we know about this? We move to our cards, we move to our chips, we move to our Apple Pay. We forget that there's wisdoms in what was taken down before us, and we need to understand it. We can't just skip over it, and by skipping over it and jumping into the metaverse, false reality, we don't do ourselves a service. We do ourselves a grave disservice, in fact. Can I see myself? I'm getting dark now. I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you don't mind. Okay. Because I want the cards to show when I do it. Back to the Magician. So again, these two cards highly represent the seventh ray of ceremonial magic, because the Magician is the card, the tarot card, which is the flash card of the occult, which we are occultists. It's a flash card that shows us that when we put together all the tools that we have attained, we can do the magical work. What is the magical work? The magical work is manifestation. The magical work is being in these human bodies, these physical bodies, being able to do the work of the rays of aspect, the Trinity, putting together a desire, a thought impulse with the receiving energy and the power to organize the wisdom and the teachings from orchestrated things and intelligently moving that into activity so that we can bring it into existence. It's the law of manifestation, the law of attraction in order. Everyone talks about it as if it's this, like hard to understand and grasp concept, but it really is. It's the great work. It's the Trinity. It's duplicated. It's, again, Francis Bacon. It can be proven by scientific method. You just don't know how to do it consciously. Seventh ray teaches us how to do that. People who are on the seventh ray type, which I think I highly resonate with seventh ray and fourth ray, bring us into the awareness of how to do the cyclic activity, which brings form into manifestation, which is on that last chart. And again, when I said that the magician embodies that because of those tools, the traditional cards, and this one also symbolizes it as well. It shows a tool from each of the 4 elements, which the tarot cards also create. And that's when you get into the minor arcana. There's a whole suit of cards that are of cups, which is the water element in astrology, and it represents our emotions and our feelings and spiritual thoughts and creativity. The pentacle, which represents earth and that which is grounded, that which is practical, that which is steady, and that which is of the physical form, the physical realm, the manifested, the seen realm. You have the wand, which is the fire signs, fire representing the fire signs in astrology, and it's the passions, our vigor and our inspiration, the action, the element that makes us move and brings things, the passion to push forward and bring things into fruition. And then you have the swords, which is the air element of the 4 elements, and it's the words, the air, the truth that is spoken, logic, reason, understanding. And when you combine all of those elements, you can see how you have everything in balance. The magician has all of these things in balance. And what's that at the top? That pyramid, like we just saw on the dollar. And the infinity symbol-rich cards. These are flashcards for the occult, knowing what we knew so that we can do the magical work. But this was not taught to you. It was used against you, in fact. So, and we say, what are you talking about? Look at the back of the dollar bill. Why is it there? Why don't we talk about it? Because we need to understand that it was information that was given that was only a few were privy to. And now what we're desperately trying to do as we bring in this 7th ray energy, mix it with the 4th ray, as chaos is building all around us, we bring it back to the teachings and the wisdom that has come before, and so that we can practically understand what has been misunderstood, right? And then make magic with it. We're not trying to control and coerce, which is how it's been used in the past. We're using it to bring forth balance and harmony and healing upon the earth, which brings me to the second tarot card that it made me think of. Before I do that, let me read real quick the Magician from the Field Tarot book. The Magician is the master of manifestation. And this card, since we've seen the other one, this is the Field card again. He's just looking forth ahead, his hands open, come what may, with wand, and the hair reminds me of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. So he's a wizard. He's a magician. He has his power in his robe, and he's saying, it's gazing upon his creation. The magician is the master of manifestation. Now is the time for taking action and setting out to achieve goals, as all is aligning in favor of success. Through commitment, skill, and focus, dreams can become a reality. Keywords: willpower, synergy, resourcefulness, taking action, fruition, and creation. Again, embodying all of those elements and using them for that ceremonial magic order. Practice. 7th ray. Let me put this up again really quick so we can still see that down here as what the purpose of this ray type is. But I'm going to have to take it back down to show you these other ones. Okay. The Star. This one wasn't as immediately expressive to me, but In the traditional cards, which this Cosmic Tarot gives a little bit more of a picture of, you see she's holding 2 cups in her hands, and she is pouring them out into the water in the night sky. So the star, we are stars, right? We have this energy and this life force within us that animates us. And the star card is traditionally, when you see very amateur readers, and again, this one, she is nude in the water, just kind of, it's like a purification, because like I was going to say, those amateur readers, they usually just interpret the star. It means healing. It means of healing. It also means Aquarius. So this is why on an esoteric level, I think Aquarius, because the 7th ray is heavily in that Aquarian mindset. Like we're moving into the Aquarian age, where we're actually using Aquarian as an air sign. So it's a sign of the swords, which is the intellect, the mind, putting things in order and doing things that's really humanitarian. So it does things in a logical way towards the whole, the greater good of the whole. That's why the age of Aquarius is the coming in and ushering in of this energy to take the teachings of what have been hidden and used for the few, to flip it around and reverse it, and to flip it and reverse it, reverse it into something that can be manifesting greatness and majesty and magic and wonderfulness for all, right? That's not a bad thing, even though they say this is so dark and icky. Flashcards. Next time you find someone and they're like, oh my God, why are you afraid of a flashcard? Get a life. Get a clue. Get a book. So anyways, these 2 examples here, and then I will read again the star from the field book. So we pull this flashcard. The star signifies a magical time of growth and purpose. Growth and purpose. There is a sense that you are blessed by the universe. Hope and faith are with you, and anything is possible. So be sure to reach for the stars and you'll find your highest self. Keywords are inspiration, opportunity, hope, spirituality, and personal growth. Now again, this isn't so much heavy to the 7th ray, but the symbolism on the card is what made me pull this as one of these corresponding types, again, because you're balancing energies. If you look at the definition from a more traditional tarot book, it talks about when you're using it for divination, they look at some, and you pull this card, it's part of blending in some of the past energy with some of the future energy, and it's also about coming to as that state of healing, like we said. So you're trying to make a middle point out of such differing and conflicting energies or things that were troubling you. You bring in the star. The star card is an omen of healing, of that light energy that's going to bring you into growth, which is what the field does talk heavily about. So it's a magical time of growth and purpose, but it requires that slowing down and balancing things out and understanding what we are left with when we pour out all the emotions, because Aquarius is also the water bearer in astrology. So it's an emotional, water is emotions, but Aquarius is a sign of logic and air. So it has that ability. It isn't a very emotional sign, but it understands emotion. And then it balances them in a logical way so that it can do what is best for all in a humanitarian way. So that's why the star card for me aligns with this ray. And then the last one, because, this is getting long, and I'm going to add in the clips. I appreciate your time also, again, for studying this with me. The final card that really came to mind when I was looking through this from the tarot, because it's talking about order and cycles, of course, is going to be the World card. And the World card, I'm going to actually show 3, because in the field deck, which is again very clean, whimsical design, the field tarot shows it this way. We have almost like the 7 chakras here. You have the colors. It could also be the 7 planets. It could also be the 7 major organs of the body, because that's 7, the septenary energy, like the 7 rays, the 7 color, 7 of the color spectrum. All of that can be depicted here, and it's all in combination with this. The universe is a different title for the traditional world card, but it is still depicted with that 21 Roman numerical that shows us that this is, in fact, the world card in this tarot, which, as you get away from the traditional tarot decks, they can name them different ways and things like this. And that's why you can also refer back to the book or the numbers to get an understanding of that. This card still is one and the same as the world card. But this also represents that ceremonial, sorry for scratching my nose, it's really itchy. This also is heavily representative of the seventh ray because it shows that bigger than the cycles of the world are the cycles of the universe beyond that. And as Alice Bailey teaches us too, we're learning just the microcosm when there's still so much more going on outside of that and outside of that and outside of that. Francis Bacon, prove it. Okay, well, there's different systems and cycles that are going on, like the digestive system and the respiratory system and the different cycles and things that go through with your body when you eat food and then you get rid of it. Those are different cycles on the smaller scale within our body. And then we go through different cycles on an outer level in our physical reality with like the cycles of Sunday through Saturday or the week, Monday through Friday, a different cycle, morning to sundown, a different cycle. And we go through different motions within that cycle. And each one serves a purpose. So in the Cosmic Tarot, we get, again, our more symbol-rich card. And we see, just like we do in the Wheel of Fortune card, we have the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac there. I think it's interesting because in the Wheel of Fortune card, these symbols, the fixed signs of the cross of the astrological wheel, are writing in a book. So they're writing down what they learn, what they're understanding through their life experience in the cycles of life, where sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down. We're understanding the law of karma, the laws of nature. And then it comes full circle, seventh ray, when we learn, why is there an order to it? Why should I not take the shortcut or the left-hand path? Why is that a trick? Because it's folding in upon itself. Because what we learn here when the world card is pulled is a cycle is coming to completion. And so we have these same fixed signs here showing that now they understand, they know what they know. And now that that cycle is completed and we've chosen what we've chosen, what are the fruits of it? What has come from it? The traditional version of the card, I don't really use the traditional tarot deck anymore, but this is one of my first decks. This is more the original version. We have a woman and she's inside of a circle. That's a cycle that's completed. She has the 2 batons in her hand, the wisdom. Again, she's nude, but she's got this robe, this ribbon, of blue. And blue is an attribute, a color, a symbolic color. Again, in the tarot, there's lots of, again, symbol-rich things here. And again, you have those 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. Computer's telling me something weird. Okay, I'll wrap this up here with a reading of the universe card in this deck, and then again the traditional. So the universe, when you pull this card, is showing that a cycle is coming to an end. The work is done or will soon be done, and everything is aligned and in place, including yourself. Reflect on the journey that got you where you are and honor the lessons you may have learned along the way. This is why in esoteric teachings and whatnot, you're not so much learning about good and bad, right and wrong, good and evil, but we're not excusing the fact that the people who are choosing the way they're choosing are having a certain run of things in life. Life is responding to them in a certain way. They're experiencing cycles of activity and life pushing back against them in a certain way because there are lessons to be learned. There are laws to be observed. There are ways to be respected and to be honored. And to have high esoteric idealism is a quality to develop in this 7th ray. To have a realization of unity, that yes, there is both sides, good and evil, in existence. They will both get you to a destination, but at what cost? We look at the results that are around us in the world right now. Countries going to war, and we're like, shouldn't we be so much more evolved and civilized than that? Well, what's the point? Well, that's because we've taken a different route. And right now, the universe is calling judgment. We're looking at the results of our choices. And we're understanding what kind of magic we were using or others were using. Keywords are conclusions, fulfillment, closure, completed cycles, and achievement. And then last but not least, I'll read from the actual Albano Rider-Waite, which is this deck that this original card is from. And it says of the world card that it shows completion. Also, it shows our attachments. It So if we are attached to doing things a certain way, being stubborn and fixed, as these 4 signs, fixed signs of the zodiac tend to be, if we hold to that attachment, this is the completion and the outcome that we get. And you will continue to get those outcomes if you continue to act in the same way. What is the definition of insanity? We all say it, but we don't live by it. We don't actually take it seriously, but it's very true. This is also a card of perfection. How perfect can it be when you end a cycle and you do the right thing and you get the right results? Again, there's no right, but right is light. What do I want to get? And if I get what I want, then I've done the right thing. I've done the right steps. I've taken the right steps to get the results that I want, and therefore it is right. Not that I am placing a judgment on my actions, but that my outcome is desirable. Age of Aquarius, it's not going to be just desirable for myself, but desirable for all. And what we look at around us right now, those actions that we've been taking are producing an outcome that is not ideal for all, right? Because some are still losing. It's win-lose, not win-win. This card is also representative of ultimate change, because once a cycle comes to completion, there's nothing yet left to do but to rebuild and to start again. After war, and we see the rubble, there's nothing to do but to rebuild and to begin again, to make new choices. After you go to sleep, at the end of the day, win or lose or whatever, whoever wronged you, it's done. And your reactions to it are gone. But when you wake in the next day, there's new choices, new set of opportunity, right? Cycles then bring us ultimate change. The end result of all efforts, success, synthesis, fulfillment, capability, triumph, and undertakings, the reward that comes from hard work, eternal life, and then it goes into what the outcomes are when you pull the reverse. But we're not looking at it for divination. We're looking at it as a flashcard for the occult. So that's pretty much all I have. We're going up to 40 minutes, and then plus what I put in from my the Wisdom Bites clips.
The seventh ray is called the ray of ceremonial order and magic. And that particular ray has so much to do with conditioning consciousness around the urge to ground. It rules the physical plane. It has a lot to do with the urge to find organization. It's a manifesting ray. It's about making things tangibly real. There's an emphasis on practicality with the seventh ray. And it is largely a ray that's becoming more and more important as we move into the future, because it has a deep intimacy with the Aquarian dispensation, and it's the ray that's trying to cultivate the practical mystic. So the seventh ray is also very much related to the need and the urge to find synthesis. So on a lower level, it's all about building detail and structure, but on a higher level, it synthesizes it as a unity, and it's governed by the color violet.
The seventh ray is the ray of ceremonial order and magic, and it is we are entering the seventh ray age now. And it rules all the new rituals, and it rules organizations, and it rules how things are built and structured. So these primary 7 rays color every living thing.
Rest in peace to the good sir who has given us again so much wisdom and information on the teachings of Alice Bailey. I will put a link also to that channel. I think it's already up there, but to see some of his work where he goes heavy into the teachings and his understanding of them. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. And again, I will see you in the next time. So we're just done with those rays, but we're continuing on with the definitions of the soul. Take care.